What you think are the kind of the headline issues for you and as NATS here when it comes to reducing carbon emissions?
Well, we've got quite a few challenges. If you think about the key challenge of reducing CO2 emission, for us that really involves looking at things from a network point of view, because it's really a challenge that needs to be tackled as a community. And although there's a lot that we can do within the UK, I think the real prize is to make sure that the network across Europe is coordinated in terms of those actions to reduce CO2. From a NATS perspective, we already have a challenging programme in place looking at reducing CO2 emissions by 10% in the UK airspace by 2020. And if you look at our regulatory framework, we're actually going to be incentivised financially with penalties if we don't achieve that. So we're very much focused in on that. And of course, it's not actually a hard sell from an airline perspective to really try and get that on the agenda, because from an airline angle, reduction in CO2 emission equates to reduced fuel burn. So it's very much a win-win from the point of view of the environment and airline economics. So we've got a lot of work going on, and we're well underway and on track to achieve that 10% target by 2020. The starting point for us within NATS was actually to model all the CO2 emissions in UK airspace, and we calculated that we have about 26 million tonnes of emissions every year. But from the modelling that we've done, we've been able to work out exactly where the inefficiencies are in the network. So although everyone talks a lot about continuous descent approaches, and that's obviously an important way to reduce emissions, we're also looking at continuous cruise departures, where the aircraft can take off and climb as fast as they can up to the cruising altitude. So there's a number of different things that we can do to improve CO2 emission around that. In addition, we're also looking at reducing horizontal track lengths so that aircraft take the best route straight into the airports. Obviously, reducing holding through getting better capacity at airports is a real priority for us as well. And the other area that really is one that we're pushing hard on is to try and coordinate things across Europe, because at the moment about 3/4 of delays in UK airspace originate from our neighbouring airspace partners, if you like. So we need to work together as a team to really try and look at things from a system perspective to get the focus where it needs to be across the network. Certainly from a technical point of view, the solutions and the technologies are there, and we can pull the building blocks together to achieve technically what we need to achieve. The real challenge, I think, is one of a social one and a political one, and that's really where a lot of work needs to be driven through organisations such as CESAR, through Eurocontrol, through IATA, organisations that actually span those communities. But you're quite right to identify that as the key challenge looking ahead. From a UK perspective, the next regulatory period will, as I say, incentivise us around CO2 emissions. I think the challenge, though, is really to make sure that everyone in Europe moves at the same pace. I have the impression at the moment that it's quite patchy from a regulatory point of view, and I think the challenge is for the European regulatory system to set a level playing field and common targets for everyone.